An Ebola scare causes chaos on the campus of Southwestern College. And in just the last 90 minutes, 10 News has learned the student at the center of it all has recanted her story. We revealed the missteps that were made while trying to contain the frightening situation on campus as fears continue to grow about the spread of the disease in the U.S.
And at San Diego State, there are major concerns about the number of students possibly exposed to the deadly form of meningitis after an 18-year-old student infected with that disease becomes critically ill.
Live from the Scripps Studios, this is San Diego's news source, 10 News.
Two major health scares today on two local college campuses. On the left, there is growing concern that a student at San Diego State may have exposed as many as 400 fellow students to bacterial meningitis as her condition takes a turn for the worse. But first, the Ebola scare that caused chaos at Southwestern College. There have been several developments today as fears continue to grow about Ebola.
All right, let's get you caught up on the very latest. This afternoon, President Obama authorized the Pentagon to call up members of the National Guard to help combat the spread of that disease in West Africa.
Here in the U.S., the CDC says that the second Dallas nurse infected with Ebola could have had symptoms as early as Friday when she flew to Cleveland to plan her wedding. The CDC is also trying to track down customers of a bridal shop the nurse visited to try on gowns, and that shop is now closed.
And new numbers show that nearly 4,500 people, mostly in West Africa, have died from the disease. We have team coverage for you, including today's scare at Southwestern College.
We begin with 10 News reporter Allison Ash. And Allison, there were a lot of missteps in determining what happened.
Yeah, and we want to let you know that in just the past 90 minutes, Southwestern College has now confirmed that the student has recanted her story. Most of that story was false, and it caused a lot of problems here. She was on a plane in the Midwest last week, but it was not the plane with that nurse who had Ebola. As for the missteps, a lot of misinformation, according to students, and the health department was never called. From Sky 10, you can see the 400 building at Southwestern College as students and faculty were told to stay away due to a medical emergency. A report that a student may have been exposed to Ebola. Vinny Avila Walker was in the classroom right after that student walked out. A police officer told him
the student came in contact with the Ebola strain on a flight and gave us that information and told us that we were no longer allowed to leave, that we had to stay there.
The problem was that student had gone out into the quad area where she was during a class change, potentially exposing dozens of students who weren't even in her class. They were locked down too.
I would rather err on the side of safety and precaution.
Political science professor Alma Aguilar said the college did not go far enough. She thought the campus should be shut down. That didn't happen. Instead, school nurses checked on the young woman, and Southwestern issued this tweet at 12:13 p.m. saying, "Student does not have flu-like symptoms. No evidence Ebola."
We are still talking with that student to really kind of verify her complete story.
We now know the student retracted her story. We also know mistakes were made. Students who were quarantined complained they weren't given enough information. And even though the police chief said all protocols were followed, we wanted to know why the county health department was never called.
I believe either we had a lapse in communication or something, but that's something that we're going to do, and I'm sure that everyone else does. We'll get behind closed doors. We're going to hash this thing out and find out from top to bottom what we did right, what we did wrong, how we can improve.
And I'm told that debriefing is still going on at this hour. Now, the next thing that Southwestern College is going to have to deal with is they're going to have to decide what to do with that student. Should they expel her? Should she face charges? That's something they say they will look into sometime tomorrow. We're live in Chula Vista. Allison Ash, 10 News.
Much more to come on that. Thank you, Allison. We continue our team coverage with ABC's Marcy Gonzalez. She has learned that the first Dallas nurse who tested positive for Ebola is now being moved to a hospital in Maryland for treatment.
Nurse Nina Pham is now on her way to a different hospital. In part, we're told, is because of staffing issues here, with 75 other healthcare workers still being monitored, with their health being closely monitored. Nurse Nina Phamb's battle against Ebola now being put in the hands of experts on the virus. The 26-year-old being transferred to the National Institutes of Health in Maryland, one day after her colleague, Nurse Amber Vinson, took a similar journey on this specially equipped private jet to Emory University Hospital in Atlanta, where she's now being treated. But today, growing concerns about another flight Vinson took just one day before she was diagnosed. The CDC admitting that though she'd treated the Ebola patient who died in Dallas and reported having a 99.5-degree temperature, they gave her permission to fly. They're now contacting other passengers who were on that Frontier Airlines flight from Cleveland to Dallas as a precaution.
That's enough of a reason for me to say that I should be isolated.
The crew members who were on board put on leave so they can be monitored. Also, out of an abundance of caution, the airline reaching out to passengers who traveled on 5 different flights on the same plane the next day. Meanwhile, health officials are still looking into how Vinson and Pham were exposed to the virus. The head of Dallas Health Presbyterian Hospital on Skype testifying before Congress that while caring for Thomas Duncan, nurses wore protective gear according to CDC guidelines, but admitting they had no training in treating Ebola, also apologizing for sending Duncan home when he first sought treatment.
We made mistakes. We did not correctly diagnose his symptoms as those of Ebola, and we are deeply sorry.
And Duncan's fiance, who is still in quarantine, says a hospital executive also called her to apologize. Live in Dallas, Marcy Gonzalez, ABC News.
All right, and what you're looking at right now, that is the private jet that Nurse Nina Pham at the Dallas airport, where she just boarded that jet. Again, these are live pictures as the jet rolls down the jetway there. She's on her way right now to the National Institutes of Health Center in Bethesda, Maryland, for her continued treatment.
New concerns tonight about the original flight Nurse Amber Vinson boarded from Dallas to Cleveland. Today we learned that same plane eventually made its way to San Diego. 10 News reporter Riel Creighton is live in the live center, and the plane is still in service at this hour. Riel?
Yes, and despite concerns that Amber Vinson may have had early symptoms, that plane is still carrying passengers. That flight she boarded to Cleveland. At last check, it had left Denver International and has since landed here in Indianapolis.
This is video of the plane Nurse Amber Vinson took from Cleveland to Dallas, sitting in Denver undergoing decontamination. There is new concern about the original flight she took from Dallas to Cleveland. The CDC now saying she could have had symptoms earlier than previously thought, possibly on board that flight, which eventually made its way to San Diego. This 10 News virtual view shows you the route. On Friday, Vinson boarded Frontier Flight 1143 from Dallas to Cleveland. The same plane then made 16 other flights all over the country before eventually landing in San Diego on Tuesday. Since Tuesday, that same plane has made 10 other flights and remains in service.
Now, we checked with Frontier Airlines about why that plane is still in service. We have not heard back. In the live center, Riel Creighton, 10 News.
To put this into context, concerned Americans are taking extra precautions to stay away from the deadly disease. In just the last 4 weeks, sales of hand sanitizer have gone up almost 10% compared to the same time last year. Sales of cleaning products have also soared with about a 28% increase, and sales of general disinfectants are up 13% in the same time period.
Okay, now to a developing story. An 18-year-old San Diego State student is in an intensive care unit with a case of possible bacterial meningitis. She went to the hospital Tuesday with flu-like symptoms, and now hundreds of students who came in contact with her are now being urged to get treated immediately with an antibiotic. 10 News anchor Itika Milanes joins us, and Itika, the university is now making special accommodations for those students.
They sure are, Steve. I want you to take a look at this live shot behind me. This is the Student Health Center at SDSU's campus. All of these students right here, they're all waiting to get a preventive medication, the antibiotic needed for bacterial meningitis. Earlier this morning at 8:30, doctors said that there were 50 to 60 students waiting to get in. A steady stream all day of these students wanting to get that antibiotic after hearing about this student with bacterial meningitis.
It's unbelievable.
A campus in shock after hearing one of their own is in critical condition with a possible case of bacterial meningitis. Spencer Briar is one of the students listening in as SDSU's Director of Student Health Services talks about the 18-year-old Kappa Delta sorority member hospitalized Tuesday with flu-like symptoms.
You can be infectious before you're actually symptomatic with this disease.
That is the scary part.
Dr. Greg Lichtenstein says the student attended 2 fraternity parties last week, Wednesday, October 8th at Alpha Epsilon Pi and Thursday the 9th at the Delta Sigma Phi House.
Initially, we were thinking it was just a small group of people, but now we're in the range of estimates of 300 to 400 people that we're notifying.
And recommending that they get a preventative antibiotic that SDSU is providing free to students. Thursday morning, when staff showed up at the Student Health Services Center, dozens of students were already in line waiting for it. The center's hours have been extended until 6 p.m. through Friday, and 2 extra nurses have been brought in.
We're not concerned about classroom situations or dining room situations where somebody might only have brief exposure.
Earlier this year, 14-year-old Julienne Pimentel, a cheerleader at Patrick Henry High, died from this same illness. And last December, 19-year-old Aaron Loy, a UC Santa Barbara student, survived the deadly strain, but he had to have his feet amputated. Loy had been vaccinated for meningitis, but got the strain not covered in the vaccine. That may be the case with this SDSU student. She too was vaccinated, but it is still too soon to know what strain she has. An interesting fact here, neither SDSU or the UC school systems require students to get the bacterial meningitis vaccine. Doctors want to emphasize that if anyone has symptoms suggesting meningitis, stiff neck, flu-like symptoms, go straight to the ER immediately. Itika Milanis, 10 News.
Itika, thank you. Students are back home after a scary day at a local school. Someone actually called in a bomb threat. The students were all evacuated to the athletic field at Gompers Preparatory Academy in central San Diego. The bomb squad checked out the school but didn't find anything dangerous. At one point, one of the police dogs barked a warning at 2 lockers, but x-rays proved that there was nothing out of the ordinary.
There are new developments involving a young barber arrested for slashing the throat of a customer. Today, Daniel Flores answered charges in court. 10 News reporter Steve Fiorina is live outside the barber shop where the slashing occurred. And Steve, a strange attack and still no idea why.
Kim, it's something, a crime that calls to mind the old Prohibition-era gangsters like Al Capone and Frank Nitti. Navy man sitting in the chair here and his throat cut as he lay back for a shave. Daniel Flores leaned back in his chair, swiveling back and forth as he was arraigned on attempted murder charges before Judge Michael Wellington. He's accused in Monday's throat slashing at Vic's Barbershop in Imperial Beach, leaving a Navy medic critically injured. Tim Vaughn was getting a shave when attacked. That medic's cousin spoke to 10 News about the crime, ironically a barber himself, one who does shaves with a straight razor.
It's just unfathomable that somebody would actually do that to an individual, especially lying in a barber's chair.
Flores had run from the scene and was arrested near the home of his aunt, a mile and a half from here in the South San Diego neighborhood of Nestor. Formally charged now and pleading not guilty.
The charges in this case include attempted murder with the allegations of great bodily injury as well as use of a weapon, a razor blade in this case. The maximum exposure is 13 years.
There is no known motive and no indication it might be gang-related. Flores' attorney asked that his client be housed in a more secure section of the county jail because of the notoriety of the case. I asked if there'd been a threat.
No indication of anything like that. I can't comment on why he wanted to do something like that.
There is no bail. A preliminary hearing is scheduled late this month. And that may be when we learn why this happened. No one here is talking about this. The victim last reported in critical condition. Live in Imperial Beach, Steve Fury.
All right, Steve. Today, Apple unveiled 2 new versions of the iPad.
Well, coming up, the new features that make these iPads unlike any other.
And some high clouds drifting across San Diego are signs of the next system moving our way, when it could dampen our roads with a little drizzle.
And coming up new at 5:30, a local family desperately searching for a missing military mom. The action being taken today by San Diego police as a result of our story. Their jobs were made famous in a movie that starred Robin Williams. Today, the real Good Morning America or Good Morning Vietnam military broadcasters made a visit to San Diego for a reunion. What they want everyone to know about the roles they served.
I'm Neil Kashkari. I'm running for governor because every kid in every neighborhood deserves a good education and a chance for a better life. Jerry Brown betrayed our kids to protect his donors. When I'm governor, I'll fight for kids, not against them.
Thank you for watching 10 News at 5. Honored with the Emmy for Best Evening Newscast in San Diego.
Proposition 48 is a bad bet for California. It will open the floodgates for off-reservation Indian casinos to be built anywhere in the state, even in our neighborhoods and by our schools. Going against what voters were promised with Prop 1A back in 2000, that casinos would only be built on a tribe's original reservation. Senator Feinstein agrees. Enough is enough. Let's keep the promise of Prop 1A and keep Vegas-style casinos out of our neighborhoods. Vote no on Proposition 48.
This military report is brought to you by Coleman University.
Speed Festival and Air Show may be over, but the big finale to San Diego's Fleet Week will be this weekend.
It's called the Big Bay Bash, and new at 5 o'clock, 10 News military reporter Bob Lawrence with one of the key reasons why organizers wanted this event downtown.
We're going to have it all out here in this area.
This area being the foot of Broadway at the Broadway Pier for the military and the public.
Definitely all the public is welcome to listen to the music, have their kids come down on the carnival games, this stuff that we have.
The return of the air show after it was canceled last year drew thousands to Miramar. Naval Base Coronado was also open to the public for the Speed Festival, but Fleet Week wanted to do something to benefit the military downtown. It'll be a first for the Broadway Pier, and speaking of firsts, also new for the Big Bay Bash beyond those gates on Saturday will be the arrival of the U.S. Coast Guard cutter Stratton. This is the Stratton returning to its home port in the San Francisco Bay Area. It's one of the Coast Guard's newest ships and is, technologically speaking, light years ahead of older Coast Guard vessels.
Well, this is one of the first times that a national security cutter is going to be in San Diego, open for public tours.
The Stratton is named for Dorothy Stratton, the first woman to ever be selected for service in the Coast Guard Reserve during World War II. The ship just happens to be coming to San Diego for repairs. Fleet Week hopes to pay tribute to the military with a picnic for 500, which includes access to the Midway Museum. For $15, the first 200 members of the public can also enjoy the same. But a key reason behind the event is this.
That when and if the military is ready to bring ships back to downtown, that we have the actual event that will enable that.
The gates open Saturday at 10. Bob Lawrence, 10 News.
Always a sight. And parking will definitely be at a premium. We have a link to the activities and all of the events. You can just click on the red television button on 10news.com.
Apple unveiled 2 new iPads today, and Apple executives showed off the new Touch ID fingerprint sensors in Cupertino. The iPad Air 2 is now slimmer than the original and will sell for about $499. The iPad Mini 3 features a new high-def camera. It will sell for about $399. Apple will start taking pre-orders tomorrow.
200,000 people in San Diego who were looking to get a raise from the minimum wage on January 1st will now have to wait. Now the voters may very well decide this issue. A citizen-led petition drive got the necessary signatures to force the City Council to either repeal the ordinance or place it on an upcoming ballot. City Council President Todd Gloria released this statement. It is disappointing that big businesses have used their money to block thousands of San Diegans from receiving a pay raise. Gloria hopes that the measure can be put on the ballot in June of 2016.
Now, Pinpoint Weather, brought to you by the White Glove guys at ASI Hastings Heating, Air, and Solar.
Bob talked about the Big Bay Bash, just one of many events happening outside this weekend, and Pat says it's going to be pretty nice for all those events.
It is. It's not going to be too hot, just very pleasant. We're going to have clouds in the morning, partly cloudy in the afternoon. Today we were sitting under a transitory ridge of high pressure, so we had some sunshine today, a perfect day to get outside and maybe paint our beautiful San Diego coastline. 10 News weather watcher Jim Grant took this picture of Eddie at Sunset Cliffs, and he was definitely capturing the beauty there in some oil paints right along Sunset Cliffs. I'm going to post that on my Facebook page, Pat Brown 10 News, if you want to take a closer look. And today those high clouds helped us to be a little bit cooler than yesterday. You can see already Santa Isabel down to 69, Scripps Ranch at 68 degrees. Oh, just changing, going up a little bit. But we're right around 70 across most of the county, 60s here in the foothills and in the mountain areas. And compared to 24 hours ago, you can see 1, 2, 3 most of the time cooler than it was 24 hours ago. So that cooling trend will continue tomorrow because we're watching all these clouds come up from a system just to our south. It's just off the coast of Baja. You can see here. That's going to lift to the northeast tomorrow, bring us more moisture, even a chance of drizzle tomorrow morning. Then Saturday, another system comes in on a zonal flow. That's a direct west to east kind of movement. And next week, there's another one. So we just have a series of these Pacific storms that are going to keep our weather pattern in a very consistent kind of manner. Meanwhile, headed toward Hawaii, Tropical Storm Ana. Now, it's still a tropical storm, but as our 10 News pinpoint tracker shows, it'll briefly turn into a Category 1, then go back to a tropical storm, and it looks like it's just going to skirt to the south of the Hawaiian Islands. But you see the field where the rain and the wind extends out to includes all of the islands from Kauai to Oahu out here to Maui. I almost forgot Maui. Maui, Oahu, and Kauai are all going to be impacted by Ana as it moves through this weekend. Tomorrow's forecast, a little bit of drizzle in the morning, just enough to kind of mix with the oil on the roads and make it a little bit slippery out there. 72 for a high. That's a little bit below average along the coast. We're about 5 degrees below average in the inland areas, but we will see some sun in the afternoon. Now for the next 7 days, as you can see, hardly any change in our temperature. We're going to be right 72, 73, at least for about the next 5 days, then a warming trend toward the middle of next week. In fact, 82 at the beach by next Thursday. Here in the inland valleys, temperatures will remain steady as each one of those Pacific systems comes in, and then building high pressure Wednesday and Thursday as temperatures spike back up closer to 90 degrees.
Wow, okay. And $21,000, that's how much money Chula Vista police say that these men stole from a local gas station, the trick they used to get away.
It's been 6 weeks since comedian Joan Rivers died. The surprising find the medical examiner has made about the cause of her death.
Coming up new at 6 o'clock, a tearful day in court for the woman who pleaded guilty to child endangerment. Tassie Barron's children drowned in a friend's swimming pool as she slept. So why will she be free next year? You're watching 10 News, San Diego's news source.
It's official. The truck pros at Toyota of Escondido sell more new Toyota trucks than anyone else in San Diego County.
Toyota of Escondido.
Why did the press call Congressman Scott Peters slippery? Maybe because on the city council, he charged taxpayers for his BMW expenses and helped create the pension crisis that nearly bankrupted San Diego. Or because they found out Peters has been profiting from industries he oversees in Congress. So while we already knew slippery Scott Peters was bad for San Diego, he's become everything that's wrong with Washington, D.C. Congressional Leadership Fund is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Hey, check this out. Cash Call can refi your fixed-rate mortgage for 2.99% rate and APR with no closing costs, not even an appraisal deposit. So don't be a dummy. Save the money. Make the Cash Call now at 866-590-CASH.
Bumps happen. Some good and others not so good. For the bumps you want to forget, bring them to Maaco for our $149 bumper sale. And we'll freshen up your bumper with a new coat of paint for just $149. It's that easy. Maaco, America's Body Shop.
My son, Jerry, was failing across the board. He was hanging out with the wrong crowds, and it was important to focus on his education, and we were getting nowhere.
When my son went into Marshall Tuck School, he was reading at the 3rd grade level. Marshall Tuck believed in him enough to give him a chance. Jerry's got his degree now. It couldn't have happened without Marshall. Marshall Tuck saved my son's life. Marshall Tuck will be fighting for better education for everybody.
The room within emerged slowly from the mist. Everywhere the glint of gold. The discovery of King Tut. Now the fabled burial chamber of Egypt's legendary pharaoh comes to San Diego. A spectacular recreation featuring scientifically reproduced artifacts modeled on priceless originals. Experience the thrill, the discovery of King Tut. A limited engagement at the San Diego Natural History Museum. Tickets at sdnat.org.
Celebrate and save during the Mile of Cars 60th anniversary. Over 5,000 vehicles, the top brands, dependable dealers, and deals too good to pass up. The #1 auto park in the nation, the Mile of Cars in National City.
Police hope that you have information that leads them to catch these two thieves who stole nearly $21,000 from a Chula Vista gas station. These are surveillance photos of the crime that happened back on August the 15th at the Optimart gas station on 3rd Avenue. Officers say while one man distracted the clerk in front of the station, a second man walked in through an unlocked rear door and stole the bank deposit from the office. Both suspects left in a dark-colored SUV.
Well, you no longer have to leave your dog or your cat in a kennel when you travel. A new service finds homes where pet lovers are willing to watch your furry ones. 10 News reporter John Matarese checks to see if this is a good idea.
We're living in a new sharing society. You have Airbnb if you need a place to stay, and Uber and Lyft if you need a ride. So now there's a new home sharing network for your pet if you go on vacation. But is it safe? Cicely Necht loves her dog Newsy so much.
Good girl.
That she hates the thought of leaving her pup in a kennel when she goes on vacation.
No, she'll do doggy daycare once a week, but that's just while I'm at work. Not for a weekend or anything while I'm away.
While there's nothing wrong with kenneling, many dog lovers hate the thought of a kennel filled with a dozen strange dogs. That's why a new service called Rover.com is exploding across the country.
High five. High five.
The Boston Globe calls it Airbnb for dogs, after the home sharing program that's popping up everywhere.
When you leave, you know that your dog is constantly getting one-on-one attention instead of getting lost in the shuffle of other dogs.
Scott Weddle is a Rover host who watches dogs for vacationing people. For $25 to $40 a night, the price of a budget kennel, this work-at-home entrepreneur will feed and walk someone else's pet, even letting them sleep on his bed.
For paying less, you're getting much more one-on-one attention for your dog, which the dogs love.
Is it safe? Rover says it checks out all pet sitters, and all dogs booked are covered by a $2 million liability policy for biting and $25,000 in emergency vet insurance. Cicely says she's thinking of it for her next vacation.
Yeah, and as long as the home or the venue was safe and she felt comfortable.
By the way, Rover does have some listings for cats as well as birds and lizards, too. It might be worth checking out so you don't waste your money. I'm John Matarese, 10 News.
One-on-one attention for the dog. I would pay for that.
Yeah, if you trust the person, that could be a great idea.
No reason why not.
All right.
Okay, in the next half hour of 10 News at 5.
Well, a local family is desperately searching for a missing military mother. The action being taken by San Diego police as a result of our story.
And less than 4 hours ago, a small plane crashed near Big Bear. What happened to the 3 people on board?
I'm Virginia Cha. Tomorrow morning, how one local medical center is putting itself to the test in case Ebola or another health scare shows up here in San Diego.
Plus, weather and traffic every 10 minutes on 10 News This Morning. Honored with the Emmy for Best Morning Newscast in San Diego. Weekdays 4:30 to 7. The List, weeknights after 10 News at 7.
There are so many reasons why students enroll in the Bachelor of Science in Nursing program at Touro University, Nevada.
I was ready to start the career of my dreams.
A bachelor's degree in nursing in just 16 months.
Hands-on learning experience with caring faculty.
A small campus community.
Where my classmates will one day be my co-workers.
So what are you waiting for?
Call Touro University, Nevada right now to start your career in nursing today.
Fear Bola. Next Instant Edition. What's really inside these tablets that claim to protect you from Ebola? Watch the next Instant Edition.
Weekdays at 4:30 on ABC 10.
Gorgeous color is more affordable than ever.
The Fantastic Sam's Color event is going on now with area highlights for just $29.95. Fantastic color, fantastic price. It's a beautiful thing. Come in today.
Customers at Alpine Rock and Block always say, I had no idea you had this much stuff.
If we don't have it, Mother Nature just doesn't make it. We will rock you in El Cajon.
Politics have no place in the exam room, but Prop 45 would change that. You see, 45 isn't just about rates. It also gives one politician power over anything affecting rates, including what benefits and treatment options our health insurance covers. Treatment decisions should be made by doctors and patients, not someone with a political agenda. Please join doctors, nurses, and healthcare groups across California and vote no on 45.
Where'd you get your Mazda 6?
I got mine at Heinz.
Even though it was my salesman's day off, the dude still came in to help me.
Thank you for making us #1 in San Diego.
Gorgeous color is more affordable than ever. The Fantastic Sam's Color event is going on now with area highlights for just $29.95. Fantastic color, fantastic price. It's a beautiful thing. Come in today.
Live from the Scripps Studios, this is San Diego's news source, 10 News.
A family is desperately searching for the missing Navy wife and mother of 2. Within the past 90 minutes, San Diego police sent out this missing person flyer.
Her family says it's because of 10 News that the police department is now taking action. New at 5, 10 News reporter Jennifer Jensen live in Point Loma with the family's plea for help.
She was last seen at her home here in Point Loma 3 days ago, and now her friends here and her family in Virginia have contacted 10 News to say they need our help to try to find her.
She is a smiling mother holding her young daughter close in her arms in this home video shared with us by her family. Now, 31-year-old Elizabeth Sullivan is missing. Last seen or heard from on Monday.
We're all very, very worried and concerned.
Best friend Nathan Character says they last spoke Sunday night.
We left it at, I'll talk to you tomorrow. Didn't hear from her again.
So he contacted police and filed a missing persons report. He says Liz and her husband Matthew, who is in the Navy, had been having marital problems, but says it's concerning that she hasn't been in contact with anyone, let alone leaving her 2 young daughters.
I texted her several messages and she didn't respond, and then I haven't heard anything from her since then.
Liz's father in Virginia tells 10 News he talks to his daughter sometimes 2 to 3 times a day. They sometimes disagree on issues like what happened on Monday on the phone, but they have a system to say they're okay.
But we always had a pact that because she was so far away from home, that she would text me at least to say I'm okay, because she knew I'd worry if I didn't hear from her.
Which is why he is so concerned. 10 News met Liz and her husband 3 years ago when their rented home was flooded after a drunk driver sheared off a fire hydrant nearby. Matthew was just about to leave for deployment. We went to the couple's Point Loma home to see if he wanted to talk about how he's holding up and the last time he had heard from her, but he wasn't home. We're told by her family that her car is inside the garage and her cell phone has been shut off, so they can't track her. Her father desperate for any word of her whereabouts.
I would just want her to call home. No judgment, no blame. We just want you to be safe and okay and come home.
We contacted the San Diego Police Department. All they will say right now is that she is a missing person, but it's too early in the investigation to provide any details. In Point Loma, Jennifer Jensen, 10 News.
3 people are in the hospital after a frightening plane crash just a few hours ago near Big Bear. When you look at the wreckage, it's amazing anyone survived. The pilot of the small Cessna was able to call for help after the crash. The injuries all appear to be minor, although at least 1 person was airlifted to a hospital. The NTSB will investigate to find out what caused the crash.
A busy stretch of road in Oceanside is still closed because of a big sinkhole that won't be open for a while. This is what it looks like. That hole is about 20 feet long and about 10 feet deep. It forced the closure of the northbound lanes on El Camino Real between Oceanside Boulevard and Mesa Drive. Much of the muddy mess from that water main break there remains after our breaking news tracker reported live last night at 11. Now, we just checked with the city, and they hope the road will be fixed by tomorrow afternoon, but most likely Only one lane will be open over the weekend.
And we are learning new details tonight about exactly how comedy legend Joan Rivers died, but the biggest question still unsolved. Rivers was being treated for acid reflux and to figure out what was going on with changes in her voice. According to a new report from the medical examiner, during the procedure there was a drop in oxygen in her blood. That led to brain damage and cardiac arrest, but it's still unclear what caused the drop in oxygen. We've also learned that Rivers had been sedated with propofol, the same drug used on Michael Jackson. The report found no sign of medical error by the doctors.
All right, get ready for the big one today. People all across the state and here in San Diego took part in the Great Shakeout. That earthquake drill took place at 10:16 this morning, and nearly 1 million people in San Diego County registered to take part in it. Joining us now is earthquake expert Dr. Pat Abbott. When we think of the big one, what's the fault most at risk here?
Biggest one for us would be the San Andreas Fault out here on the east side of the Salton Sea. And that's 80, 90 miles away from us, but we know those kinds of waves. We had them with Easter about 4 years ago, those high waves. Well, double the height of those, make it last twice as long, and we may see some problems in San Diego.
We know you talk about out here to the east, but this runs all the way up close to LA. We know it goes through San Francisco all the way up the coast. We're talking about a lot of shaking buildings. We have the old adage of hide in the doorway. That's the best place, but that's not always recommended anymore.
Well, you know, that's from the last century. That's from when they used to build adobe block houses and they'd have a wood frame of heavy wood. That was the safest place. But what are doors today? Today we have things made, well, here's the old style ones here, but we have these weak aluminum doors. There's simply a hole in the wall. The best thing to do today, these days, is get underneath something to protect you.
This is what we're looking at in Napa. This is from just a couple of months ago. 25 years ago, we're talking about 1989. I remember watching that World Series game between the Giants and the A's, the old Loma Prieta quake that happened, shook the game. The ABC actually went off the air at the time. You know, hopefully we don't see something like that again, but a lot has changed with the construction of our buildings since then.
Well, you know, if there's one good thing about earthquakes, it's every time we see what goes wrong, we change the building codes and try to not experience the same part of a disaster again. Unfortunately, we learn something from every earthquake, every big earthquake, and I'm afraid we have more lessons to learn yet.
We still have to wait for that big one. We're always hearing about the big one.
Oh, it's coming soon.
All right. Dr. Pat Abbott, thank you for your time.
We have been warned. All right, a trial date has been set for the man facing charges for knowingly spreading HIV. Thomas Guerra's trial was set today for November 13th. The 29-year-old is accused of giving HIV to an ex-boyfriend after telling him he was HIV negative. He's also accused of getting even with an ex-boyfriend by spreading lies and releasing a sex tape. Text messages obtained by 10 News appear to show Guerra bragged about duping several sex partners. Coming up, new numbers reveal how much water San Diegans are saving during the drought. A bear cub wandering around a Southern California business park gets stuck in a trash bin. Who came to the little guy's rescue? All right, let's check traffic with Officer Robert Catano. Hi, Robert.
Hi, good evening. We do have CHP units on scene of a 4 to 5 vehicle traffic collision. This was reported on the southbound 805 just south of the 5 split. Looks like they have the roadway clear, everything on the shoulder. Just use caution if you're traveling through the area, expect heavy traffic conditions. Here's a live shot 805 at the 163, heavy traffic all the way down to the 15. Remember, don't drink and drive, keep safety in mind. I'm Officer Robert Catano with your 10 News Time Saver Traffic.
Harvest Festival Original Art and Craft Show with over 24,000 handmade American arts and crafts, delicious food, and a kids zone. The Harvest Festival is waiting for you this weekend, Friday through Sunday, October 17th through 19th at the Del Mar Fairgrounds.
$120 a month for gas, $400 for groceries, $1,200 for childcare. Now, just when insurance is finally covering prescription birth control, Carl DeMaio says no. He wants women to pay another $600 every year while insurance companies get off the hook. And men still get Viagra for free? Tell Carl DeMaio no. Elect Peters to Congress to protect women's health.
Planned Parenthood Action Fund of the Pacific Southwest is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Hey guys. Hey the man. Hey Chips.
Hey, how's it going, Stan?
Can I get 55 on pump 3? You got it, Stan.
Just that.
The Chevrolet Cruze LT with an EPA estimated 38 miles per gallon highway
Right now, competitive owners and lessees can get this well-equipped 2014 Chevy Cruze LT for around $159 per month. See your San Diego County Chevy dealer.
I'm Neil Kashkari. I'm running for governor because every kid in every neighborhood deserves a good education and a chance for a better life. Jerry Brown betrayed our kids to protect his donors. When I'm governor, I'll fight for kids, not against them.
The Harvest Festival Original Art and Craft Show with over 24,000 handmade American arts and crafts, delicious food, and a kids zone. The Harvest Festival is waiting for you this weekend, Friday through Sunday, October 17th through 19th at the Del Mar Fairgrounds.
Closed captioning brought to you by Sleep Train Mattress Centers. Sleep Train wishes you a fun and safe Halloween.
Today, San Diegans gathered to protest what they call a hidden gas tax about to affect Californians. Starting in January, gasoline and diesel fuels will be added to California's cap and trade program. Is designed to help battle climate change by charging companies for emitting greenhouse gases. Companies will pass that cost on to customers, hence the hidden tax. Now, opponents say that cost would be anywhere from 16 to 76 cents a gallon, but supporters say that consumers are expected to save money because of new energy technology and increased efficiency. All right, speaking of gas prices had their biggest drop in years today in San Diego. Good news there. Prices went down almost 2 cents to an average of $3.57 for a gallon of regular. That's actually great. That is the biggest daily drop since 2012 and the lowest overall price since December of 2011. The cost of gas in San Diego has gone down every day but one in the last 6 weeks.
People across the county are listening when it comes to turning off the tap. According to the San Diego County Water Authority, residents used 4% less water last month compared to September last year. They said the reduction was a step in the right direction, especially given the warmer than normal temperatures. The Water Authority says more conservation is needed, though, by reducing outdoor watering during the fall and winter as our drought continues. Hamburgers, the foodie favorite, are getting a makeover at some local restaurants, including one you may be surprised by.
Larissa Wall with the list tries it out.
Well, you don't usually think of McDonald's as being gourmet, but a new concept may change that. It's called Build Your Burger, and out of 4 McDonald's testing it, 2 are here in San Diego, including this one on Midway Drive. All you do is step up to a touch-screen kiosk right there and pick your toppings like guacamole, garlic aioli dressing, and even caramelized onions. Yum! To find out more, including how much they cost, check out the list at 7:30.
Building your own.
Watering?
I don't know if I'll see if it's gourmet. We'll try it out though.
I don't know about the guac on the burger, but all right. Well, their jobs were made famous in a movie that starred Robin Williams.
Today, the real Good Morning Vietnam military broadcasters made a visit to San Diego for a reunion. What they want everyone to know about the roles they serve.
And lots of high clouds just streaming up from the south today. What's driving them and why tomorrow they'll be thicker.
Covering major news, breaking big stories, exposing wrongdoings.
Why are you running away?
It's what 10 News does. But it's not what sets us apart. What makes 10 News a better choice is our commitment to give you more than just the facts. Offering context, providing perspective, uncovering the why behind the story, so you can decide how it impacts you. Expect more from your local news. Turn to 10 News, San Diego's news source.
We all need car insurance, and the way I do it is by searching online. I saw CompareNow.com and decided to check it out. I put in my information, and then all these quotes from a bunch of different companies came up side by side so I could compare. Once I saw the prices, I couldn't believe it. I went to some of the other auto insurance companies just to double check. I ended up saving over $700 a year. I highly recommend CompareNow.com.
It's Macy's one-day sale Saturday with a preview day Friday. Save 50 to 80% store-wide. Plus, get an extra $20 off when you spend $50 with your Savings Pass 9 a.m. till 2 p.m. Get your pass in today's paper or at Macys.com.
Proposition 48 is a bad bet for California. It will open the floodgates for off-reservation Indian casinos to be built anywhere in the state, even in our neighborhoods and by our schools. going against what voters were promised with Prop 1A back in 2000, that casinos would only be built on a tribe's original reservation. Senator Feinstein agrees enough is enough. Let's keep the promise of Prop 1A and keep Vegas-style casinos out of our neighborhoods. Vote no on Proposition 48.
Remember when your dad came home in a new car he got from a place called The Mile? We're celebrating 6 decades of making those memories at The Mile of Cars. From our modest start to becoming the #1 family-owned and operated auto park in the nation. With over 5,000 vehicles, 21 brand names from dealers you know and trust, and deals too good to pass up. Celebrate and save during our 60th anniversary and make your own memories at The Mile of Cars in National City.
San Diego has done a great job saving water, but drought conditions are worsening. It's time to save water now. Mandatory water use restrictions are now in effect. Visit winandDrought.org to learn more about restrictions in your community.
Love that movie. Robin Williams hammed it up in that 1987 movie, but those who did that for real in Vietnam have a different take. Veterans of Armed Forces Radio and Television Vietnam are in San Diego for a reunion.
And new at 5, 10 News military reporter Bob Lawrence with how what they said and did affected those they served.
It's 0600. What's the O stand for? Oh my God, it's early.
Robin Williams reenacting the Dawnbuster show on Armed Forces Vietnam Radio. He played Adrian Cronauer, a real broadcaster who was not quite the character Williams made him out to be.
Not really. He was just another guy doing his job.
Leroy also did the Dawnbusters show, and others at this reunion all had a role on the Armed Forces Network.
Was producing the weather show.
Veteran Dick Ellis, seen here getting ready to interview Charlton Heston. Joe Siokin was a newscaster who just got off the air in 1968 as he and an engineer heard the Tet Offensive start.
I took my handy little Sony cassette recorder, and a 16mm camera, and we worked our way up to the embassy.
Most were in downtown Saigon, and while not quite out in the jungle, it wasn't exactly a sanctuary either.
We got shelled more times in downtown Saigon, I promise you, than friends of mine who were in the Marine Corps at the DMZ.
Some who sat behind a microphone like this went on to a career in broadcasting. But at the time, they all knew who their audience was and the kind of service they were providing. Before Ken Collish went behind the mic, he was on a Navy PBR like these until he was wounded. But he remembers.
It brought us a little bit of home. We could hear women's voices. We could hear accents that were from America.
The Robin Williams movie brought them some acclaim, but Michael Goucher said it best.
We all went through it. In one way or another, it was the same gig for all of us.
Now the group is going to take in graduation at MCRD tomorrow and then be able to tour the Midway over the weekend.
Quite a group.
They had quite a force too, and you know their motto is welcome home, because a lot of Vietnam veterans never got to hear that when they came home. So that's their motto, and they stand by it. So
good to see them back together.
You bet.
Incredible memories.
Yep.
All right, a California family got the surprise of their lives when they went to the beach for a fishing trip, but they came back with so much more. After picking a spot on Pismo Beach, a large wave hit them pretty hard, and that's when they found, yep, a message in a bottle.
He came back with a bottle, and he had it held up, and he was pointing at it.
And he was just showing it to us, and I just thought it was really cool.
It was tattered and had gotten kind of wet. So we unpeeled it really carefully and laid it out and let the sun dry it.
And according to the date, it's been out at sea for quite some time, back since 2010 when a girl sent it adrift. Now, inside the bottle, an invitation to her birthday along with a phone number. They want the girl to know they got the message in the bottle 4 years later.
Better late than never. A young black bear was reunited with its pal after getting stuck in a trash bin. Take a look. This was a scene in Pasadena this morning. The tiny cub apparently tumbled into the enclosure. Another bear was seen going around nearby, clearly worried about its buddy. Several times that second bear climbed down toward its pal, but failed to rescue it. A wildlife agent used a ladder to help get the cub finally out And both bears were reunited before scampering away.
Looks like a beautiful day there in Pasadena as well.
Yeah,
Gorgeous
looking for
stuff
some food.
outside.
And you know, I'm going to stay with the animal theme
Okay.
here.
Okay.
Yeah, because it was beautiful today. We were under this transitory ridge of high pressure, so we got a lot of sunshine. And one place in San Diego County, west of the mountains, actually got above 80 degrees, and that was right here at the San Diego Zoo Safari Park. It was 81, and look at those elephants having a great time in the water. I've been watching them here for about the last half hour, and they have stayed in there kind of fighting with each other, playing with each other. So you know it was warm up there if they're playing in the water. They're 81 degrees. This is in the San Pasqual Valley if you haven't been up there lately, but one of my favorite exhibits is just to stand there and see what these guys are doing. Look at this guy splashing. I could just watch that all day. Okay, let's take a look at temperatures around the county right now. We're in the upper 60s here in the foothill areas. Ramona 69, Alpine 67, but some 70s still, holding on to some of that heat. La Jolla 70, Carlsbad 70, Chula Vista 70. It's a nice evening, a little bit cooler than it has been. And part of the reason is we've been watching this area of low pressure. Here's San Diego right here. So this is off of Baja, and it's actually lifting to the northeast. Kind of an interesting weather pattern. Most of our weather patterns come from up here and come down, swoop down. But this one is going to lift to the northeast, and as it does so, it's going to pull up a little bit of moisture. Sprinkles are possible early tomorrow morning, and some windy conditions out there in the mountains and deserts, winds gusting 15, 20 miles an hour. It's also going to deepen up our marine layer. You can see 10 News Pinpoint Futurecast by 1 o'clock tomorrow. That's about the best clearing we're going to get. So those of you along the coastal strip here, the 5, the 805, you're going to be partly cloudy in the afternoon. But in the far inland valleys, El Cajon, Lakeside, Escondido, far, Bonita area, you'll probably see some more sun there. And then, of course, the marine layer is going to surge back on because we really have a series of Pacific storms that will keep this weather pattern going for about the next 5 or 6 days. So a little bit cooler because of the additional cloud cover tomorrow. Imperial Beach, 73 tomorrow. Spring Valley, only 72, but El Cajon you get up to 76. No 80s tomorrow at all. Santee maybe 77. Lemon Grove 71. RB at 73. A little bit of drizzle in the morning, maybe making the roads a little bit slick, so just something to mention. Carlsbad, only 69 for the high, so cooler there. Valley Center 73. We should be about 80 degrees in our inland valleys this time in October. Mount Laguna at 67 and Borrego Springs at 89. So for the next 7 days, well, at least for the next 5, not much change, especially along the coast. Then, as you can see, on Wednesday and Thursday, something happens, and that's a building ridge of high pressure. That's going to push our temperatures back into the 80s and even upper 80s there in the inland valley areas. For those of you in the mountains tomorrow, a little drizzle, and as that system lifts up to the northeast, a little breezy Friday and Saturday. And then we'll just stick right around 70 or upper 60s for the next several days. Out in the desert, this is the time to go out there because it's not too hot. 89 for the next couple of days, some breezy conditions, but I don't think it's going to be blowing the sand around, guys.
Riel Creighton in the 10 News Live Center. I want you to take a look at this. This is the good news. That is 9-year-old Elijah Belden in the hospital, up and walking. You may remember the 9-year-old was critically zapped by an electrified pole. He's from Riverside County. The boy up and walking. He had been in a coma for about a week, but has miraculously recovered in a San Diego hospital now. And 10 News Live Center, Riel Creighton, back to you.
Great news indeed. All right, still much more ahead on 10 News.
Let's check in with Kimberly Hunt for a look at what's coming up new at 6. Kim.
Well, the local mother whose young children drowned in a backyard swimming pool while she got high and fell asleep was sentenced today. Tassie Behrens wiped away tears as the judge told her her fate, why she could be a free woman in just a year. Plus, brand new information on the elaborate lie that caused an Ebola scare on a local college campus. And we just spoke to students waiting for answers outside of SDSU's Student Health Services, what they say about knowing one of their classmates could be battling a potentially fatal and contagious disease.
What sets 10 News apart is our commitment to uncover the why behind every story, so you can decide how it impacts you when making important decisions. Expect more from your morning news. Turn to 10 News, San Diego's news source.
Oscar, you've got 10 minutes to get in here and bring that loyal boy with you.
Challenge! We started the Loya 10-minute challenge so you can make sure you're getting the best deal on your car insurance.
10 minutes, the challenge we're taking. You don't call, you don't save.
Why did the press call Congressman Scott Peters slippery? Maybe because on the city council, he charged taxpayers for his BMW expenses and helped create the pension crisis that nearly bankrupted San Diego. Or because they found out Peters has been profiting from industries he oversees in Congress. So while we already knew slippery Scott Peters was bad for San Diego, he's become everything that's wrong with Washington, D.C. Congressional Leadership Fund is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Like a sound you hear that lingers in your ear, but you can't forget from
The Ram 1500. The first ever back-to-back Motor Trend Truck of the Year. And best-in-class fuel economy. Giving you almost as many options as, well, California.
Well-qualified current lessees of competitive vehicles get a low-mileage lease on Ram 1500 Express Quad Cab 4x2 for $219 a month.
A lot of things in my life, but it's both parties to get off divisive social agendas. Let's respect personal freedoms for all. Orphaned as a child, I had to put myself through school. I'm committed to making college affordable for everyone. Most of all, I'm independent, a reformer, willing to work with both sides to make government work for all. I'm Carl DeMaio, and I approve this message.
If you've got 10 minutes on one of these, you could be saving hundreds of dollars per year on your car insurance.
Find out how something so simple can save you so much.
It only takes 10 minutes. Fred Loya Insurance. If you don't call,
You don't save.
Tonight on ABC 10, a brand new episode of How to Get Away with Murder, and we have a sneak peek.
Your client purchased stock in Edson Pharmaceuticals in advance of a favorable FDA ruling arising from insider knowledge.
Is any of that in English?
I still see no proof of my client's connection to Edson Pharmaceuticals.
Right. I almost forgot that part. Will you excuse me?
The team comes across a surprise while defending the CEO of a brokerage firm accused of insider trading. How to Get Away with Murder gets underway at 10, and it's followed by 10 News at 11.
All right, covering San Diego County city by city, San Diegans now have a new choice when it comes to traveling to the Mile High City. Today, Spirit Airlines announced a new daily nonstop service from San Diego to Denver beginning January 5th. This makes a total of 4 destinations where Spirit operates nonstop flights from San Diego, including Dallas-Fort Worth, Houston, Las Vegas, and Los Cabos, Mexico as well. And the popular fashion retailer H&M has just opened a new store in the East County. The Parkway Plaza location is the 6th now here in the county. The company specializes in affordable and trendy clothing for men, women, and children as well. Our 10 News at 6 is next with all the major news of the day,
including new details on an elaborate lie that led to an Ebola scare on a local college campus.
Tears in court from the local mother whose young children drowned in a backyard swimming pool while she got high and fell asleep. Tassie Behrens learned her sentence today, why she could be a free woman in just a year. 10 News at 6.